Hello, I am Abby, and I'm going to be talking about the Sonic Hedgehog gene today. So, what is the Sonic Hedgehog gene? It is the instructional template for the Sonic Hedgehog protein. Some of its broad important functions are body patterning, cell specialization, and cell growth during embryogenesis. Another really important one is the brain and spinal cord, so the central nervous system. A lot of people don't know that there is a series of hedgehog genes that us humans have. This includes the desert hedgehog and Indian hedgehog genes as well. This originated from the original hedgehog gene, which was in fruit flies, or that was the first one found, and it regulates segmental disc patterns within the flies. So now we're going to talk about the origination of the gene name, because I think that's really what catches everybody's eye. So it was named by Cliff Tabin, which was a Harvard researcher in the 70s and 80s, and his colleague, Robert Riddle. The hedgehog genes are named hedgehog to begin with because of their spiky appearance of the protein, and Cliff Tabin and Robert Riddle also named the Indian and the other gene as well that's within humans, and their original plan was to name all three of them after actual species of hedgehogs. So the other name was going to be the European hedgehog gene, but instead, one day Robert Riddle was at home when his wife brought a gaming magazine and he saw the ad for the new and upcoming game Sonic the Hedgehog, which reminded him of his favorite band, which I have pictured here. They are called Sonic Youth, so he thought that would be something special within his research to call the gene Sonic. So he gave the idea to Cliff Tabin, who also agreed that that was a unique name, and they proposed it at their next meeting. And Andrew McMahon and Philip Ingham, which was their other two colleagues on the project, disagreed at first because they thought that it should be a more biological, specific chronological name, but eventually, over time, as they continued their research, they gave in and agreed. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the gene importance and function, because I think that this gene has so many specific and really important functions within our bodies that are not talked about a lot. So the first thing is that it's found on chromosome 7, which I have pictured here below. And some of the functions here are the development of the forebrain, eye formation, neural tube, notochord, limb nubs, as I mentioned before, the central nervous system, and anterior, posterior, radial gut positioning. So to sum that wordy phrase up, that is, if there's a mutation within the gene, your intestinal passageway is going to be all mixed up and transformed. Another thing I want to note is the eye formation. So originally, when our eyes are being shaped, we have an eye field, which is like an oval in the middle of our face. This gene is what separates our eyes and positions them to where they are. So if that gets messed up, then so do other portions of our face as well. Okay, so this part is very wordy, but we're going to get through it. This is the gene protein signaling production. I think this is really important because this part shows the connection to the class. In cellular and molecular, we're going to be talking about a lot of proteins and processes and how they create the functions that we have within our body. So I think explaining this part really shows how it connects to the class as well. So we're going to get started. The protein is produced and brought to the ER, which is an organelle within the cell. Next, its polypeptides are cleaved at the intermediate site, which is then processed by cholesterol and palmitate. Then it is secreted and binds to patched, which is a membrane protein. This protein then signals the smooth-end protein, which is another membrane protein, and then transduces to GLI. This is a targeted gene, and it's being transduced into the nucleus by a transcription factor. These are all things that we're going to go over in class. So the next part is the cytoneme. This is an important specialized structure that is important for sending signals to receivers like distant tissues. So once the signal is received, it is taken by, this is the abbreviation for patched, which we talked about up here, and smoothened over here. So it is taken by these membrane proteins into the intracellular signaling. So now it is within the cell and can be signaled to targeted genes and process the actions that is being wanted. So some of the common targeted genes of Sonic Hedgehog are the patch, which we talked about, and GLI1, which has to do with the neural tube, which is a function that we talked about on the previous slide. Another thing I want to note is that target genes are cell type dependent, so not every cell has these genes expressed, so it really depends on the short distance and long distance signaling to get it to the right cell with the right targeted gene. Okay, since this gene has so many functions within it, there is a lot of mutations that can occur and conditions that come from it. So I have 4 here that I would like to talk about that are the most prominent. So we have non-syndromic holoprosencephaly. This condition is when the brain does not separate into 2 hemispheres and the eye formation is abnormal. So this is what I talked about before with the eye field. It doesn't separate the eye field at all, so your eyes are going to be right inside here. And I have a picture here of what the brain would look like. As you can see, it is not separated here at all. And then we have coloboma. This occurs before birth. It is missing tissue pieces that can occur in the iris or retina of the eye. So this can occur in both eyes or one, as pictured below. And a nickname is the keyhole of the eye because it, as you can see, it has like an oval shape sometimes. And this can or cannot affect the vision. Okay, the next condition is microphthalmia. So this is also before birth and has to do with the eyes. This is when the eyes are abnormally small. This can be one eye or both. Eyes may appear missing even though eye tissue is present. That is the difference with anophthalmia. So anophthalmia is when you have no eyeballs at all or tissue within the eye. It sometimes gets mistaken as severe microphthalmia, but they are different. And the last one we have here is preaxial polydactyly. So this affects the anterior limb buds, and this is here on the left. I just wanted to put all 3 on here so you could distinctively tell which one is which. This one is a result of ectopic expression of genes like mutations in the 3 target gene. We just talked about the GLI1 target gene. Well, this one has to do with the limb buds. And lastly, now I'm going to talk about my peer-reviewed article. It has to do with the therapy and research functions of the sonic hedgehog gene. So my peer-reviewed article was on tissue engineering using the sonic hedgehog gene for bone regeneration, especially facial areas. I found this one very interesting, and this one caught my eye because my mother has bone deterioration diseases, so I'm already pretty familiar with human deterioration of the bones. So the first thing I want to point out is that this is for craniorehabilitation patients, so patients that have congenital deformities, tumor resections, and dental restriction within the face. And it uses lung tissue sonic hedgehog DNA from humans, and since it was tested on rabbits, it used expressed sonic hedgehog RNA from rabbits. So how the experiment went is it introduced type 1 collagen constructs with certain sonic hedgehog gene cell amounts into the white rabbits, but they had to have the condition of calvarial defects. And after this was submitted into the rabbits, they assessed changes after 6 and 12 weeks. And the results were significant regeneration after 6 weeks, and necropsy showed no evidence of side effects from the treatment, which is really good. And I have the picture over here from the article that shows right here you can see the bone regeneration and how well it did after 6 weeks. So I think that this gene could really in the future have good benefits in regeneration for bones. And here are my references. So that is the sonic hedgehog gene.